I almost killed my FrangiPani plants this summer. Not from neglect, I watered them. Same amount every single day like clockwork. Turns out that's exactly the problem. One of those days it hadn't rained in a week, the other it had poured for 6 hours the night before. My schedule didn't know the difference. Your garden doesn't need a schedule, it needs a brain that actually looks at the weather. That's exactly what we're building today. A home assistant automation that tracks the heat, tracks the rain since the last time it watered, keeps the rain forecast in mind, does the mod nobody wants to do by hand, and decides every single day whether your garden actually needs water and for how long. And here's the part most tutorials skip: you do not need a weather station to get this running. I created a very powerful blueprint that handles automatic garden watering for you. And there's one field in this blueprint that makes the whole forecast piece completely optional, and I'll show you exactly where it is. If your plans have ever died from a schedule that didn't care what the sky was doing, this fixes it. And it can also save you a genuinely surprising amount of water. Today I'm installing a set of helper entities, importing one blueprint and walking through every single field in it. Not copy-pasting blind, actually understanding what each one does so you can tune it to your own garden. If this video helps you out, a like and a subscribe really help. We'll get the helpers installed first, then bring in the blueprint, then go field by field through the pump, the sensors, the thresholds and the timing before we touch any coding. Here's what you'll need. You need 3 things, no exceptions: a switch entity controlling your pump or valve, a Home Assistant compatible smart plug or relay works fine, a temperature sensor and a rain sensor. These can come from an existing weather integration like OpenWeatherMap or from your own hardware like a local weather station. That's it for the required list. Everything else is optional. If you want the automation to factor in tomorrow's forecast, not just what's already fallen, you'll want a weather integration that supports hourly forecasts. OpenWeatherMap is the easiest one to set up. So go to openweathermap.org and create your account. Don't worry about payment for the services, you won't be using the API often enough to have to pay for it. And if you want to keep this entirely local off the cloud, something like the EcoWit WS90, the Shelly powered version, gives you your own temperature and rain sensor without depending on any outside API. But you won't get the forecast data this way. I use a combination of OpenWeatherMap and the EcoWit weather station, so I have the best of both worlds, but you can use either of them independently as well with my blueprint. The link to where to get this weather station is in the description below. Got all that? Good. Before we start clicking around, let's talk about what's actually happening under the hood, because it'll make a lot more sense of every field you're about to configure. Here's the idea. Instead of watering on a fixed schedule, this blueprint makes one decision a day, at sunrise or sunset, your choice, and it bases that decision on 3 numbers it's been quietly tracking since the last time it watered. The highest temperature it's seen, the total rain that's actually fallen, and, if you've given it a weather entity, the rain expected in the next 8 hours. Those 3 numbers feed into 4 escalating rules. A properly hot, dry day waters hard immediately. A milder day won't trigger anything on its own, but if 2 or 3 days go by without one of the hotter rules firing, a lower threshold kicks in and the garden still gets watered just for less time. And if it's been over 3 days and nothing qualifies at all because it's just been cool, it resets the counter without watering rather than let the numbers pile up. Behind the scenes, 7 separate triggers keep those numbers up to date in real time all day, every day, so by the time sunset or sunrise rolls around, depending on your choice, the decision is instant. Once that clicks, the fields below are going to make a lot more sense than if you just copied them blind. Let's build it! Step 1. Install the helpers. First, the helpers, 7 small entities the blueprint needs to remember state between runs. Drop the file garden_watering_helpers.yaml into config/packages, and if you haven't already, add packages, include their named packages under your Home Assistant block in configuration.yaml. Restart Home Assistant. One thing to watch for, these are YAML helpers, so you can't edit them from the helpers UI afterward. Any tweaks go back into this file. Once it's restarted, check devices and services, helpers, and search for garden days since last watering. If it's there, you're set. Step 2. Import the blueprint. Now the blueprint itself. Copy the blueprint file garden_watering.yaml into the folder /config/blueprint/automation/smarthomejunkie. Now go to the developer tools YAML tab and click on the link automations. If everything went well, go back to automations and create a new automation. Select the garden watering blueprint and you'll see every field we're about to walk through. Step 3. Pump switch and sensors. First field, pump switch. This is the switch entity that actually turns your pump or valve on and off. Pick it, no surprises there. Step 4. Weather integration. Weather integration is the one optional field that matters most. Leave it empty and the blueprint runs perfectly well. Without it, it just forces the expected rain number to 0 and relies entirely on your rain sensor's actual readings. Add a weather entity that supports hourly forecasts like OpenWeatherMap and it'll pull the next 8 hours of predicted rain into the same calculation so it doesn't water right before a downpour it could see coming. Step 5. Temperature sensor and rain sensor. Pick any sensor with a temperature device class for the first one. Sensor.openweathermap_temperature works if you're using that integration or select your own station sensor. For the rain sensor, here's the one thing that'll bite you if you get it wrong. This blueprint adds whatever the sensor reports every time it changes, so it needs to report rain since the last update, not a running daily total. Pick a cumulative total rain today sensor by mistake and you'll double, triple, quadruple count the same rainfall every time it ticks. You can select the OpenWeatherMap rain entity or you can select the current rainfall entity of your own weather station. In the case of the EcoWid WS90, it stores a cumulative value, so you have to create an automation and a number helper to convert it into a current rainfall value. I've added that automation to the package that you can download. Step 6. Confirm the helper fields. The next 5 fields, the max temperature, total rain fallen, expected rain, last watering day and days since last watering helpers, already default to the exact entities we just created in the package. Just confirm they match. You shouldn't need to change anything here unless you rename something. Step 7. Watering rule thresholds. Expand watering rule thresholds and this is where the whole decision lives. Rule 1. By default, waters for 45 minutes on any day the max temperature clears 30 degrees and total rain stays under 20 millimeters. A proper hot, dry day. Rule 2. Waters 30 minutes once 2 days have passed with temperatures between 26 and 30 degrees. Rule 3 and 4 step down further 20 and 15 minutes for milder weeks where it's been 3 days since the last watering. Every number here is editable. A Mediterranean garden and a shaded backyard should not share the same thresholds, so tune these to your own climate. Mine are tuned to the climate in the Netherlands. Step 8. Timing. Sun event decides whether this whole check runs at sunrise or sunset. Sunset's usually the better call. Less evaporation, less risk of fungal issues on wet leaves sitting in the sun all day. Sun offset lets you shift at, say, minus 30 minutes to water just before sunset instead of right at it. Then there's the max temp reset pending helper. This is an input boolean helper that is needed when you set your watering to sunset, because after watering the maximum measured temperature should be reset. When we reset it at sunset, the maximum temperature will be higher at that time than at sunrise. So, after sunset, this helper will be toggled to on and will ensure the maximum temperature is reset at sunrise the day after, so it starts the morning at a cool temperature. Nothing to worry about, the blueprint handles this automatically. Step 9. The enable toggle. Last one that actually matters before this does anything, the garden watering active toggle. It defaults to off. Flip input boolean garden watering active on or nothing will ever fire. This input boolean is handy if you want to turn off the whole garden watering system during the winter, for example. Step 10. Actions before and after watering. I added 2 possibilities to add an action. One before the watering starts and one after the watering ends. You can, for instance, receive notifications on your phone when watering starts and how long it lasts. And when the watering ends, you can send another notification to confirm it. Save it, and if you followed along exactly, this is watering itself starting from the next sunrise or sunset. If it isn't, here's where to look. A few things that might trip you up. If nothing waters at all, 90% of the time it's that enable toggle. It's off by default and it's easy to miss. If your rain totals look absurd, way more than it's actually rained, go back and check your rain sensor. That's almost always the cumulative version incremental mix-up from earlier. If you picked a weather entity and the forecast just isn't updating, check that it actually supports hourly forecasts. Not every weather integration does. Test it directly in Developer Tools Actions by calling weather.get_forecasts with type hourly against your entity and see if you get real data back before trusting the automation with it. Once you got this running reliably, there's a way to take it further that most people never bother with. But first, a quick word. Quick thank you before we keep going. None of this, the tutorials, the honest reviews, testing gear so you don't have to guess, happens without the people who support this channel. If you're one of them on Patreon, Ko-fi or as a paid channel member, generally, thank you. It funds every hour spent on these videos. If you're not and you're finding this useful, a like on the video and a subscribe costs nothing and helps more than you think. Now let's take this a bit further. Remember that optional weather field from earlier? That's the whole reason you don't need any extra hardware to start. Leave it blank, wire up any temperature and rain sensor you've already got and the automation still runs. Just off real rainfall instead of forecasts. From here, a few things are worth adding. If you've got more than one zone, duplicate this automation for the back garden. And if you want this running completely offline, a local station like the EcoWid WS19 by Shelly hands you your own temperature and rain data with zero dependency on an external API. That's the version I'd actually recommend running long term, but let's bring it back to what we built today. And last but not least, I created this dashboard view to monitor your watering system. It's also added to the watering package so you can use it on your own dashboard as well. So, 1 blueprint, 7 helpers, and your garden now has an actual brain making the watering call instead of a fixed schedule guessing at it. It tracks real heat, real rain and real forecast if you give it one, and it waters exactly as much as the last few days actually warranted. If you've ever come home from a week away to a dead planter or you're just tired of a hose running on a rainy day, this is worth the 20 minutes it takes to set up. If you've only got a couple of pots on the balcony, honestly, this is more automation than you need, but for an actual garden, it earns its keep fast. You can download the blueprint package via the link in the description and install this yourself. Let me know in the comments how it works for you. If you found this useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. And a huge thank you to all of you whose names you can see scrolling on the screen right now. If you'd like to join them, Patreon, Ko-fi and a channel membership are all linked below. However much or little, it generally funds the free content on this channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.